Hey, glad to see everybody here today, and welcome to church. You never know what you're going to get as a renter. So I'm just a little having to fix everything and make the piano work and fix our screen and then our computer. So I'm just a little agitated, but then that's how God works on us. I think He shows us that we're still not there. And we still got a lot of work to do. But anger, my gosh, anger and love and feelings seems like a good thing to talk about at church, right? Yeah. So let's do that. I heard a funny joke that I'll mention. It's not mine, but I was this comedian. He was talking, and he just said that he got to New York, and it was 20 degrees outside, but it felt like 37. He's like, man, we're going to bring feelings into everything in the 21st century, even the weather. And he's like, what do they have? Like a teenager at the airport, and they're like, go outside and tell us what it feels like. Sounds funny. But yeah, like, isn't that funny how it is? Man, my feelings, like, do a lot. And and I'm like a 7, and so I even have a little bit, on the Enneagram, I even have a little bit of an excuse that I'm more in my feelings than everybody else, maybe a little. But then ask my wife and kids, there's no excuse, absolutely not. It doesn't matter how you feel. It matters what's reality. And my teenager happens to be sitting in the audience today, so I'm really excited about this. Gives me all the opportunity to say everything. No, in fact, I've told her this so many times. But here's the thing. It's not just for teenagers, for us too, man. We get in our feelings, we get in our stuff, and all of a sudden it's like, I don't see anything else. I can't really do anything else. I just am in my feelings. And so I don't care if it's 20 degrees. It feels like 37 to me. You know what I mean? My hair is going to light on fire in a second because it's hot in here, like that's how it is. And so regardless of logic and what I know is right, and if this happened 50,000 times before, still in that moment, there's choices. And hopefully we get better at that, but it's still happening. I heard somebody say this, and I think it's really good. I've been thinking about it this week, thinking about it even in the slam booth as we were doing worship. But when we get angry, anger is emotion. And there's a lot of positive things about anger, like you care. But we're in an angry world, and angry, it's even like people, now there's whole Instagram channels just devoted to road rage. People like seeing road rage carried out. And so we're really angry, political anger, social media, a lot of anger. It just seems like everywhere there's a lot of anger, and we're all angry, and we're all carrying a little bit of anger under the surface. And when I'm angry, I'm just not able to be okay. And I'm usually defending myself, and I'm usually feel a little violated. And so, but it is really, it's a reaction though. It's anger is a little different. It's like, anger is not a response, it's a reaction. Those are different things. It seems like that's the same, but it's not. I mean, a reaction is just have a reaction. Just a reaction. Like if you have a reaction, just have a reaction. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe we can control our reactions a little bit, but your reaction is just, you react, you act back. It's an act. It's like a quick thing. It just that's what happens. That's anger. But what happens after we react? Then we think about it. We're like, I don't want to do that. I don't really feel that way. I feel like I acted like a total idiot. That was wrong of me. I should go back. After 5 or 10 minutes, you calm down. And you're like, man. And then you're trying to do a response. See. So that's a response. A response is when you think and you respond and I respond. So I've thought about it and all my stuff together. This is how Bo feels. I respond. But you don't do that when you're angry. You just react. So it's like da 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 da. And if they're giving it to you, you're throwing it back at them and arguing with you. You act more arguments back. And if it's fire, you give it more fire. If it's an eye, you give an eye. If it's a tooth, you give a tooth. That's anger. And anger just feels more anger. And that's why when somebody's humble or somebody's quiet or when somebody is not angry back, it's hard to keep being angry. Look, this is how close to home it is for me, just so nobody feels bad about their own anger and stuff. So just this week, I was in a thrift store, because I like the thrift store. Believe it or not, I'm not dressed from the thrift store today, but almost, a little bit. I draw a line somewhere. But I go in there, the price is right. My daddy raised me that way. So I go in, and plus, you can't, sometimes rock and rollers like me, you have to look like you don't care what you look like. And it actually takes a lot of work to not care what you look like. Todd has we used to talk about Denise's son all the time, one of my best buddies growing up. growing up when we were in our 20s, growing up. And Todd would if Todd came in here right now, y'all all be like, can I have your autograph? Are you in a band? You'd ask for autograph first, and then you'd be like, are you in a band? Are you famous? Because he just looks like he is like that, kind of what I mean. But he cares that he looks that way, and it's on purpose. So you have to care to look not on purpose. You know what I mean? So anyway, so I go to the thrift store. So the way the wannabe hippies go to they get Lululemon and they shop at North Face, and then they drive a Land Rover, but then they go to hippie concerts. They act like they're poor. But if you want to be a really hippie, you have to think Kenyan. You got to go to the thrift store and you got to buy $2 shirts and wash them a couple times, and then they're good. That's what I was doing. So I went to this is so it's supposed to be funny. It's not funny. It was funny to me a little bit. But so I was at the thrift store and I haven't been in a long time. So my arm got I'm such a thrift shopper, y'all. My wife hates it. I'm such a thrift shopper that my arm started getting tired because I had so many clothes in my right hand. So I did what you do, at Walmart. I'm not getting a buggy at Walmart, and then inevitably I'm like, I gotta get a buggy because I got too much stuff. If you don't get a buggy, you won't get as much stuff. But I had too much stuff, so I went and got a buggy, and I said, ma'am, where are y'all's changing rooms? I've got 47 t-shirts here. And this is big money here. This is $1.99 a shirt, so we're adding up here. And they're like, we don't have changing rooms, but we have an exchange policy. And so I was just thinking real quick because I'm ADD, and I'm like, exchange policy, that's good. And so I didn't think about the fine print, I just didn't. It's just the fine print didn't register. It's just exchange. It's not, you can't return. So I was like, well, I'll just get everything I want because I can return it, and I'll try it on when I get home. So I get 30 t-shirts and a bunch of stuff. I get home, I go through it, feel like I need to shower after I just try the stuff on, and a bunch of stuff doesn't fit. So I'm taking it back. Well, I get in there and they're like, you didn't refund, you just exchange. And I'm like, okay, but they're like same day exchanging. They're like, you just hold everything right here and you go find some more stuff you want. And you're like, I just spent 2 hours in here. I already went through everything. I don't want any more stuff. They're like, you have to exchange. So I go through, and believe it or not, I find more trash that I can maybe take. $40 worth. So I bring it back. And the coolest shirt that was there, after all this work, it didn't have a tag on it. I'm like, we can't sell this to you. It doesn't have a tag on it. I was like, yeah, but that's a cool one, man. I like that one. I like that one. They're like, we can't do it. I was like, it's $2. If I give you 4, we'll do 2 for 1. You can have it. I want that one. They're like, no, sir, can't do it. And just like all anger, I wasn't angry at the front thing. I wasn't angry the second time, but this started to bother me. And I started to be like, come on, this is violating my principle. This is a law of nature and a law of order. I could just, they're like, no, sir, you can come back tomorrow. Actually, we're closed tomorrow, so it's actually going to be next Tuesday before you'll be able to go in. And we can't guarantee that you'll be able to get the shirt, but we can, under any circumstances, allow you to buy the shirt because it's not tagged. And I was like, man, I just did this huge exchange, and you guys told me about your exchange policy. It's not right. And I'm coming back here, and I brought an extra set of shoes, which I should have never bought. And you don't exchange shoes, all this weird stuff. And you tell me to read this fine print. There is no fine print, no receipts this long, and you're going to go through every one of these barcodes and itemize this thing. It's 5 people in line back here, and I just want to exchange the stuff. I'll give you the money. It doesn't even matter. I can't get the one shirt I want. I've had 3.5 hours of my Saturday are gone just because I'm thrift shopping, just because that's at Harbor Freight. It's right next door. It's all I was trying to do. I felt like Vince Vaughn, or something. I was just like, and this dude is just minimum wage worker, man. He's just like, I'm sorry, sir. I'm like, fine. Just give me the stuff. I'm get out. Done. Just give me out. Sir, you still have $4.27. We can't do the exchange unless you do the full exchange. I said, just keep the $4, dude. I don't even care anymore. I'm so mad. I'm not cussing, but I want to because I'm mad. I'm shaking. I'm mad. And I want them to know I'm mad. I'm like, you tell me I got to go back. And yes. I said, so I can't leave any balance. So I go back, and I just grab something. I'm so mad. I'm mad. I let my anger get me all the way, and I put it back on. And He's like, you owe me $1.20. It really was $1.20. I was like, isn't there like a 3.5% minimum, and aren't you going to charge me? Don't I have to do $5 minimum and all this stuff? He's like, no, sir. It's like, wow, I'm surprised there's no rules against that. Just go ahead and charge me the $1 for the shirt. So you have to spend more every time. I was like, that doesn't seem like that's fair, man. I'm not going to talk to the Consumer Reports Agency. See if it's even fair to make people in the exchange that they have to spend more money. Like, it doesn't even seem like it's right. I'm just like thinking of everything that's wrong with everything, and nobody's saying anything to me. And the people behind me aren't saying anything, and these people aren't saying anything. And so I just leave. And look, it takes me like a long time to calm down. Because they got the whole best of me, you know? They got all the way best of me. And I work in retail, and I know who these jerks are. And I am one of these jerks, apparently. And I go home, and I'm like... And finally, I realized it was just a $2 shirt. It was just a $1 charge. It was just some thrift clothes. It all probably goes to nonprofit. I already won. I spent $100 and got like 4 years worth of like clothes for myself. I'm just trying to ruin people's days. Like, what is the deal, man? And I realized that it's not Christ, it's not love, it's not anything. It's absolutely all the things that I like would preach against, that I would be embarrassed about, that I would say that we should never be like, that I should tell my kids that they should never do, that I tell my dad that he needs to quit doing. I mean, like all the stuff. And we're just in it all again over $1.50 charge, man. Like just a long line, just to cut off in traffic. And so it happens, and it always happens to us. And I realized, like, man, if I could just get the reaction and the response time down, and maybe just realize, hey, I'm having a little reaction right now to this anger, but it's not really how I feel. It's not really what I mean. It's not really what I want and everything. And maybe there's a bunch of external things that are coming into that, And I keep thinking about what I could have done different. And I think that the only thing that I could have done different, y'all, it's going to sound so silly, is I could have, I probably could have had a quiet time before I went to the thrift store. Like, could have prayed. Could have been in the right place and state of mind so that when I went in, I would have had a different, standpoint. And that is really what this is about today. This lesson is about today. A very simple mindset. So when we think about following Jesus and everything, and we think about church, and we think about the scriptures, and I watch a little bit of YouTube just to see what people are doing these days and sort of the ways that Christians are going about it, and it just seems like it's very daunting. Like, has anybody read this little bitty book lately? It's a little bitty book, but it's a little bitty words, but there's a lot of words in there, and you got to do a lot of studying. And even if you were just to take the 10 Commandments, they go and they ask people to name the 10 Commandments. Have y'all done that lately? It'd be a fun thing to do. You'll win some bets. Make sure that you know them first, but ask somebody if they can name them. And I saw this video where they would ask people to name 10 beer companies, brands of beer, or 10 clothing companies, or 10 top 40 songs currently on the radio, or top 10 artists that you like, or top 10 artists from the 80s, or the 90s, or the 2000s, and the 10 Commandments. And so people could name all these cultural artifacts and cultural things, but they couldn't name the 10 Commandments, would forget some. But if you just did memorize those 10 and you went by them, then your life would be good. Your ethics would be sound. Your life would go well. You would be following God's law, and you wouldn't injure your neighbor. You wouldn't injure God. You wouldn't walk around looking over your shoulder. You would do it. So living by the 10 Commandments would be good. Jesus, he boils the 10 Commandments down into 2. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. And we know those. We remember those. But those are sort of hard too, and like we're always trying to remember that and think about that, and I'm always like, well, are we in the God category or in the people category here? I'm not really sure. It all runs together. But in this other place in the scripture, in John 13, Jesus, he even simmers it down to even 1 instead of 2. And people miss it because Jesus does a lot of summary statements, and this is a huge summary statement. We love summary statements in the Bible, like, John 3:16, for God so loved the world, because it sums up everything. And so instead of us from having to remember 600 rules or 10 rules or memorize specific verses, we can just remember the gist of things. And so this is one of the ones that we would want to look at, memorize, or to at least hang our hats on. And so let's look at the John 13 passage here. It says, when He was gone. This was when Judas was gone. So they just dealt with Judas. Jesus says, now the Son of Man must be glorified, and God is glorified in him. And if God is glorified in him, God will glorify the Son himself and will glorify him at once. This is much weird talk about his ascension. And he says, look, I'm only going to be with you a little longer. You're going to look for me, just as I told, you'll look for me, just as I told the Jews. But where I'm going, you're not going to be able to go. But then he says this. Then he says, but look, a new command I give you. Not a list of commands, not 613 laws, because that's not what the Pharisees did when they took the commands, but just a new single command. New single basic command. All of his teachings, everything boiled down to this command. And he calls it something new. He calls it something new. He says, a new command I give you, to love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. And then there's this evangelistic quality to it. By this, everybody will know you're my disciples if you have love for one another. What a beautiful command. Have you ever seen that before? It's not the ones that's on bumper stickers. We don't see them on the Kirkland's prints. I don't see people tattooed. They don't have this in Greek on their forearm. It's this one that we forget about. But Jesus, if we wanted to hang our hats on one thing, or like go with one thing they're saying, like, man, let's go with this, you know? And so he's talking to his disciples, and he says, a new command that I give you. Now, have we ever talked about the nature of love? Because the only thing that you can't do when you love somebody is force love. Because love's not real love. You force it. So he's commanding love. Well, how can you command somebody to love something? Hey, you better love me. Doesn't really work. It's strange stuff. But he says this is the command. Another place Jesus says, look, you follow me. It's like, and don't worry. If you love me, you'll keep my commands. But my commands are not burdensome. My commands are not burdensome. See, when we think about command, we think of like a rule. And then we think of rule, in law, we think of like burden. Like, mom and dad want me to keep the rules. I better keep the rules. I don't really want to keep the rules. I don't feel like keeping the rules. It's cold and I'm hungry. But, you know. So this gives this command to love. This command to love. And so how is that? How does that work? And how do we do that and all that kind of stuff? Jesus says the one thing to do, the one way to obey him, the one thing he asks us is to love, to figure out how to love. And it is not a burden to love. So somehow we got to figure out how to love and it not be a burden. And then he says this too. He says, as I have loved you, you also have love for one another. So this is how. Now up until then, they didn't know. They just knew that he taught them well. They worked good miracles. He was cool. He always had time for everybody. He went everywhere that anybody asked him to go. Like he's just good that way. And so they know he's like teacher and he's good and he's like really cool in all these ways. But Jesus is going to die for them. Okay, and he's going to be obedient even to death on the cross. And so he says, I have loved you. You're supposed to love one another. If you look in the New Testament, other places it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. And women, respect your husband as if serving Christ. So we get this stuff, man, like that we're supposed to do what Christ has done for us. Remember the bracelets, Charles Sheldon? What would Jesus do? There's a famous book called In His Steps where you would ask the question, what would Jesus do? And you would get your answer real quick, because if you weren't sure what to do, you just asked, what would Jesus do? And in that moment, you would get a sense of, well, Jesus wouldn't almost cuss out the thrift store people. Jesus wouldn't get mad at $1.30 charge. Jesus wouldn't get mad at the corporate policies because they won't sell you a shirt. You know, he just would. Just would. And so, like, if I was thinking right, you know, if I was thinking Christian, if I was in a place of love, then I would have not reacted, but I would have responded appropriately. See, I think when we do what Jesus wants, we're always thinking above we're skipping past the reaction, we're going to the response, and we're keeping our nose, you see. So we're not letting our feelings get the best of us. We're not letting all this stress and stuff ruin us. We're saying, no. I gave this day to God. Everything that comes my way is an opportunity for love. You know, whenever Jesus went somewhere, do you ever notice there's no accidents in the Gospels? It's not like, oh, there was an accident and he turned left instead of right, but Jesus made the best of it. No, it's like, no, they asked him to go this way and he went that way. And while he was going this way, somebody did this and he turned around and said, what happened? But there was always purpose, and God just doesn't waste anything. And so I think when we ask him for help and when we give our days to him and we say, order my steps, God, then we can trust that everything that happens in that day, he's letting happen. And that there is an appropriate response to the things that will happen. And I don't know, so I'm thinking about that and how we could do that and how we can remember those things. And Jesus says, as I've loved you, you're supposed to also love one another. And then he says this, and this is the weird thing evangelistically, because let's talk about what we really believe. We really believe that Jesus died for the sins of the world, but evangelistically we do very little for that. Like, we're not worrying evangelistically, like if we go out and don't sell the gospel to people that they're going to die, go to hell, eternity apart from God. We don't really think that, because we would be doing more if we did. I'm one of those. I don't know if I really think that. I don't know. I'm just saying, because if we did, if we thought it was really serious, like it seems like it's serious, then we wouldn't be sitting around getting mad. We wouldn't be shopping for 3 hours. We would be spending all of our time and all of our energy and be dead serious. And there's some people that think that way, and that's fine, but I don't think that way. And if I'm realistic, I'm not just trying to cover hypocrisy. I really don't want to get a bullhorn and stand at the corner of 5th and Main and tell people they're going to hell and try to get them to follow Christ. I just don't think it works. I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I'm not going to. It's not who I am. I'm not going to try it. And so we have all this conviction about evangelistic measure and stuff, but we just want to think that like Billy Graham crusades and all those people do evangelism, and we don't do evangelism, or we'll print some tracts that look like dollar bills and wad them up and just throw them on the ground. Like, that's our evangelistic strategy. Like, Jesus doesn't say to do hot seats at the end of church services. He doesn't say to pressure people into or scare people into the kingdom. You can't scare people into the kingdom. You can't talk people into the kingdom. People are born of the kingdom of God or not. Like, your knowledge doesn't make you born of the kingdom. I don't know how to make somebody born of the kingdom. You don't know how you were born of the kingdom. We just know that we were born of the kingdom. That's all we know. It's a mystery, right? And the Spirit moves where it was and does what it was. And it's a mystery. It's a mystery. So how do people are brought into the kingdom? We don't even know. We're a part of that, but we don't even know how. Well, Jesus answers right here. By this all will know that the whole world will know that you're my disciples. The whole world that doesn't know me and doesn't know anything about me, they'll know that you belong to me, and they'll know that you testify to me, and they maybe will come to me. This whole evangelistic business will work if you have love for one another. So it's like love 101. Just practice love. Just work on love. Work on loving your family. Work on loving your spouse. Work on loving your kids. Work on loving your in-laws. Work on loving your mom and dad. Reconcile these things. Work on loving. And when you get in fights, you have to forgive and you have to get over it. And you have to eat some crow and you have to do that stuff. You have to work on love. And then when you graduate from those levels, then you can love and work on loving your coworkers, and you can work on loving people on the other side of the political aisle, and you can work on loving people that are different than you. Maybe then you can even graduate to Christ-like levels, pro levels of forgiving enemies and loving people that hurt you and did bad to you. So, but the answers are always there. It's always clear. Like, love is the way. And it always was teaching us, and the answer to all things. And so that is the pursuit. And instead of trying to be less angry and trying to be less this and trying to be more of this thing, like, how can we just put on this idea of love? And how can we just think about that? And the only thing that I can think of is, just like I'm here in this back of this room, kind of getting flustered and angry, I remember, oh, Christ is in this room. And the purpose of this place and the purpose of this meeting and the purpose of all this stuff is not this thing being upright and the words being said exactly right. It's not the slides being perfect. It's not the air conditioning being right or broken. It's not all the lights, bulbs being fixed, or, It's not any of that stuff, man. It's really about love. And even the gospel preached well, or like songs sung perfect, like whatever. We remember that it's just a clanging semblance. If it's not love, and what good is any of this if we're not getting to be better lovers, you know? And so, man, this just seems like one of the most basic and beautiful things that we have to do, is to figure out how to love, and to figure out how to do that for the person in front of us. And I really do think that the secret, friends, is, I don't know how we stay out of our feels, and I'm not sure that we aren't going to get bombarded at times, but Christ always brings me back to what the real values are. And when I consider the real values, what the real values are, the real values in the thrift store the other day were the people in there. Right? It was the real value is that person, those people I was being ugly to. That's the real value. The real value is the stranger, the orphan, the widow. The real value are people in this room. The real value is people, and that's the real thing in God's economy. And it's always going to be. If there are rewards, and if there are things that we work towards in this life that we'll be proud of one day when we stand before God, it will be acts of love. It will be where we took on some of the Christ-likeness and we dispensed some of that out to the world that needed it. And I just think that maybe this is the only real lesson to learn. A long time ago, when our old worship leader died, I went crazy because I had never had anybody close to me die. And he was a worship leader. He was 30. He was young, and he died on a Sunday morning at 2 a.m. And so I had to come in here, and we had to have a service. And we had to sing songs, and I had to say something, and it was just crazy. And then his family wanted to do the funeral Tuesday morning, and there was all this mystery about how he died and why he died, and it was ugly, and it just ruined me, and I went manic, and I was insane, and I remember not sleeping at night, and people were telling me not myself and stuff, and I was just trying to figure out what to do, because when you're in trauma, you don't know what to do, and you don't know where to put your stuff. And I remember, and the thing that bothered me so much about this death was that he was such a good, loving person. He was one of these people that you couldn't say a lot bad about, you know, like you didn't find somebody that didn't like him. He was just one of those people that was all the way good. It's like, I'm going to get rid of a bunch of my toys. Let me throw all my guns and stuff away. Don't get rid of my teddy bears. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why is God going to get rid of one of the good ones? That's how I felt about it. And this way, he had an 8-day-old little girl. 8-day-old. There's a second little girl. Leave it behind. I just couldn't get over it. And I remember just calling strangers. I remember being so screwed up. It'd be 11 o'clock at night, and I would be pinging. I was like, who can I talk to? And I'd think about the West Coast. There'd be people on the West Coast I could call because it was earlier in the night. That's how needy and detached I was. And I called Aaron Hodson, who used to be a worship leader at church a long time. He was a pastor out at the West. He was out in Hawaii, so he had plenty of time to talk to me. And I called Aaron, and I was just upset. And I was just unloading on him about this guy. And he said, all this stuff aside, he's like, I just can't help hearing this one thing about Hayden. And I was like, what is it, Aaron? He's like, he loved well. He's like, he seemed like he got it, and he loved well. He's like, and it seems like if you get that, you really don't need to get anything else. And man, I've never forgotten it in all my days, because Hayden was like a new Christian. He was trying to like grow in his faith, and he's like trying to do all this stuff. He's trying to learn more and stuff, but in some ways he loved better than me and like all of a bunch of pros who had been doing things a long time. And it was a great lesson, I feel like, I learned with it. Man, like if we just learn how to love well, all this other stuff and all the other rules and all the knowledge and all the efforts, all the intentions, all of the labels and Christian this and that and all the activities, that really matter. And if we love well, what does it say in the scriptures? Love covers a multitude of sins. Love doesn't keep a record of wrongs. And so even the freedom out of our own cages It's being loved. And so the world, knowing that we're his disciples, all the evangelistic energies that we need to worry about, and maybe all this energy of trying to be more godly and holy and like all this working this stuff out, really might just come down to just simply, how do we love like Jesus? What would Jesus do? How would he love? Would he sit there and give it back to him on the phone, tit for tat, like a lawyer would? Would he unload his guns with all these Bible verses and take the high road, just make everybody feel like trash in his wake? Or would he just love people and keep this sort of mentality of, I'm just going to love the person in front of me. Forgive them, they know not what they do, God. Forgive them, they know not what they do. Forgive them for keeping this $1.25 back. Forgive them for cutting me off the traffic. Forgive my teenager, God, because they can't calm down yet. Like, just to have some grace, you know. Like, hey, you hear any grace on the news? Y'all hear any grace on any of the songs on the radio? Maybe Jelly Roll. Y'all hear any grace? Man, there's not much. Who are the dispensers? Who are the Pez dispensers of grace? Who's going to give out some candies of grace? It's the most powerful thing in the world. It's the meal ticket of the whole Bible is grace. So I'm supposed to be dispensing grace. And I got to put myself in a place. I need your guys' help, but I got to put myself in a place where I can dispense grace instead of infected and trouble and just more of the same crap. Because that's what the world's got, man. And I mean, they're part of the problem, part of the solution. So, hey, new command to give you to love one another. Jesus says, as I've loved you, you should also have loved one another. By this, all the world will know that you're my disciples, if you have love for another. Let me pray. We'll get out of here. God, you don't leave us alone. You teach us things in your word. And it seems like if we get down to the details, we find that the truth is simple, even a child can understand. And we make it harder than it has to be. God, we get in our feelings. We insist that it's 37 out when it's really 20. We want everybody else to feel how we feel. And if they don't, then we want to make them feel how we feel. We use our feelings as a shield, as a sword. We use them to justify things, to rationalize. We use them to make ourselves into a victim and feel sorry for ourselves. But God, you are a God of feelings. And so there's a balance here. And God, we have to learn to be disciples and people that are graduating and moving from faith to faith and from step to step. We want to be making progress, Lord. And God, we're just like regular people. We can lose things quick, but God, you are giving us a roadmap for a different way. And the outcomes will be different too. And so I just ask, we all really need to hear some of this today, I think. Whether it be just forgiving ourselves for the week prior or preparing ourselves for the week ahead, God, we want to be your people. We want to be your disciples. We want to show the world that we're your disciples. We want to go around dispensing grace and love and forgiveness and reconciliation, God. And so help us to get our stuff in order the best that we know how. Maybe, again, like always, God, the basic things of just showing up with you and exercising our spirits in prayer and solitude. God, in accountability and looking over our conduct and our words and making sure that our thoughts and our words and our conduct line up with who you are. God, we need you so bad. So hear our prayers today, Lord. Forgive us where we've fallen. And give us courage to go out and be your people. That's our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, friends, we appreciate y'all. See you next time. Peace.